Stop what you're doing. I'm dead serious. The feds just did something nobody saw coming. They dropped the most violent charges against Diddy. And if you think that means this trial is over, you're not ready for what's coming next. Sit down. This is a legal earthquake. Oh my God, you guys, what the hell just happened? I don't say this lightly, and I don't say it often. But this right here, this is an emergency. Federal prosecutors just made a move in the Diddy case that nobody saw coming. They've dropped multiple violent charges. I'm talking about attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, aiding and abetting sex trafficking. Gone. Completely removed. Vanished from the case like they never even existed. This is not a drill. And this is definitely not a mistake. This wasn't the jury throwing them out. This wasn't the judge making a ruling. This was the government themselves, the prosecution deciding to quietly erase some of the most serious allegations in the entire trial. And they didn't do it in front of the cameras. They didn't do it in a big dramatic moment. They did it quietly, at night, buried in legal filings. And that should scare the hell out of you. Because this isn't just about Diddy. This is about the playbook, the system, the template that powerful people use to slide out of consequences while the rest of us are still trying to process what we just read. You know what's even crazier? Diddy's team is spinning this as a sign that the case is collapsing, that the prosecution is panicking, that he's about to walk free and return to his mansion while survivors are left in the dust. But don't be fooled, because when you dig into the details, this move may not be a retreat, it may be a repositioning. A legal strategy so ruthless and focused that it should terrify anyone watching. Let's go. Step by step. First, let's talk about what got dropped. These were not minor charges. These were not technicalities. These were violent, calculated, predatory allegations that painted a chilling picture of how deep this alleged criminal operation went. Attempted kidnapping under California and New York law. Attempted arson under California law. Aiding and abetting sex trafficking across state lines. These were the charges that made people gasp. These were the charges that showed us the darkness beneath the luxury, the private jets, and the music awards. And now, they're off the table, completely erased from what the jury will see. Now here's where it gets legally spicy. Why did the government drop them? The first reason is jurisdictional misogynouses. These were state-level charges based on California and New York laws. But this is a federal trial. That means prosecutors would have had to blend multiple legal systems inside one courtroom. Different definitions, different instructions, different standards. That opens the door to confusion, to error, to mistrials. So the feds made a decision. Cut the weak branch to save the tree. But was it really weak? Or was it dangerous to them? Because here's the second reason. Diddy's team just filed a Rule 29 motion, a legal request, saying, "Judge, toss this whole case. There's not enough evidence here to even let the jury decide." Now, Rule 29 motions are common. But what makes this one different is how quickly the prosecution responded. They could have fought it. They could have stood their ground. But instead, they dropped some of the most powerful charges in the case. That's not weakness. That's calculation. They knew that if the court rejected those charges later, it would humiliate the government and make the jury question everything. So they flipped the board instead. Third, there's a theory one I think has serious weight. The government isn't backing down at all. They're reframing the entire case under more powerful federal charges. Think about it. Why chase state-level crimes when you have the full weight of RICO and forced labor statutes behind you? Because, here's the scary truth about RICO. You only need to predicate Acts 2 connected crimes to prove a criminal enterprise. And that opens the door to decades of prison time. If the prosecution is smart, and, let's be real, they didn't get here by being dumb, they're repackaging the entire pattern of abuse, control, violence, and manipulation under federal racketeering law. That way, even if specific acts get dropped, the pattern stays. The jury still sees the power dynamics, the threats, the silencing, the psychological warfare. It becomes a criminal system, not just a series of isolated events. So yeah, charges may be gone. But the conduct, the behavior, the violence, it's still very much in the room. But here's the danger. Public perception. The average person sees headlines saying, "Feds drop charges against Diddy," and assumes the case is dying. That he's walking free. That maybe, just maybe, it wasn't that serious after all. That's the trap. And it's by design. Because this is where the legal system starts playing chess with our emotions. Drop a few charges. Cool, the public anger. confuse the jury, change the conversation. And then what happens? Sentencing gets lighter. Deals get made. The momentum dies. We've seen this script before. Remember what happened with Harvey Weinstein? Early outrage, brutal, testimony. And then, one by one, charges dropped. Evidence thrown out. Technicalities, jurisdictional games. And what was supposed to be decades behind bars turned into a back-and-forth appeals circus. Or R. Kelly. Years of allegations, mountains of evidence. But once things start getting chopped in court, the path to actual punishment becomes narrower and narrower. It's all part of the elite blueprint: delay, confuse, drain resources, reframe, appeal, walk. And now, Diddy's walking that same tightrope. And the scariest part, he's doing it with the public watching less and less. And let me say this now: if this man walks, it will not be because he was innocent. It will be because the system let him. Because don't forget, this man's defense isn't even arguing that none of this happened. They're arguing it was consensual. That the pain, the trauma, the control, it was all a lifestyle choice. Let that sink in. They're not denying the darkness, they're trying to normalize it. And the moment we let that narrative take hold, is the moment we lose every survivor who dared to come forward. So what happens now? The case isn't over. Not by a long shot. The RICO charges are still active. The forced labor allegations are still being heard. There's still a chance, a real chance, that Diddy faces serious consequences. But the pressure is on. Because every dropped charge makes the jury's job harder. Every headline weakens public focus. Every delay helps the defense. And don't forget about sentencing. Even if he's convicted, that's just the beginning. The prosecution will recommend time, but the defense will fight for leniency. And suddenly, probation gets whispered. House arrest. Time served. Public memory fades. And by the time appeals come around, the courtroom is quiet. The victims are exhausted, and the machine keeps turning. That's why this moment is so dangerous, because it sends a message to every survivor watching, every whistleblower, every vulnerable person thinking about coming forward. If he's powerful enough, he'll win anyway. And we can't let that be the message. So what do we do with all this? We stay loud, you guys. We stay focused. We stop assuming that one conviction, if it even comes, is the end of the story. Because it's not. The truth is, the justice system was never designed to protect the public from the rich and powerful, not without pressure. And every slimeball millionaire, every sleazebag billionaire, is watching this case and taking notes. They are all using this exact same playbook. This right here. This is a test. Not just for the courts. Not just for the prosecution. But for all of us, and we have to pass it, because the alternative is silence, is injustice, is watching another predator walk free while survivors are left in the rubble. I'm going to keep covering every twist, every motion, every delay tactic, every shady backroom deal until the very end, because survivors, and the public, deserve more than just procedural wins. We deserve full accountability, and if the system won't deliver it in silence, then we will keep raising the volume until they're forced to hear us. Let's also be real clear about something. The prosecution has signaled behind the scenes that their strongest shot might be one major conviction, just one. But they're also afraid. Afraid that the jury could sidestep the major charges and go for those lesser, state-level ones. The ones that just got dropped. So now, it looks like the feds are trying to play a dangerous game, move the fallback options, and force the jury to either go big or go home. Is that a smart legal strategy? I mean, we could debate that all day, and we will. I'm breaking it all down live, so make sure you join me. But I want to remind you, this exact tactic, it's what helped sink the Young Thug case. So yes, this is risky, but more importantly, it shows us that the government isn't just trying to win, they're trying to control the narrative, and that tells me they're worried. But no matter what happens in court, we cannot afford to go quiet. We must keep the pressure on. Because conviction alone, that's just the start. Sentencing is where the real fight begins. That's when prosecutors ask for years and the defense whispers for months. That's when victims relive their trauma while defense attorneys argue for probation. That's when headlines fade and the real accountability gets rewritten behind closed doors. So yes, like I said, this is a test, and not just for the court. For us, we show up, we stay loud, we keep asking questions even after the verdict. We refuse to let this story disappear into silence, just because the cameras get turned off. I'll see you on my next live. We'll be in court today. No jury in the room, but we'll be there, listening, watching, taking notes, and holding every single one of them accountable. Because this story is far from over.